Hey guys, welcome back. So last week I talked about trusting God even after the outcome you prayed still happens. And that's not something to say lightly because there are some outcomes that don't just hurt you. They change the way your whole world feels underneath your feet. They change your whole entire existence on this earth. They shatter you in places that are too broken beyond repair of anything or anyone on this earth is able to fix. You can trust God and still be left carrying something you didn't ask for. You can trust God and still be on your knees with your hands empty and heavy at the same time. You can trust God and still not understand why the things that you begged and pleaded for Him to stop is now the thing that you have to carry with no explanation of why. That was just a brief recap of last week. If you hadn't had a chance to watch it, check it out, week 15. But this week, not in full details, not because I'm going to keep repeating the same thing over and over again, but because I'm learning that there are so many different layers to this that people don't understand unless you have lived it. I know. I never really understood how many layers this crushing truly is. And still the layers keep revealing themselves and change midway into something completely different. After the moment that everything breaks, you don't just move forward because time moved forward. You don't just wake up the next day and think you understand that this is your life now. You get trapped inside of it. The best way I know how to explain it is it's like being in a nightmare that you cannot wake up from. And as a believer, I know one day I'll wake up, like fully wake up. I'll open my eyes in heaven, and this nightmare will not be able to follow me there. And I know that. I believe that. But down here, in this body, in this house, in this same world where my son used to be just 20 to 25 steps outside my back door, every day, this still does not feel real. Every day, I wake up and feel like I am waking up inside of a nightmare, trying to wake up inside of that, and then trying to wake up inside of that. Have you ever had the dreams like that where you're waking up so many times that you don't know if you're really awake or you're still caught in your dream inside your mind? And that's what I want to talk about this week. Not just the moment the world broke, but what it feels like to be trapped inside of the after of it. And this is why right here, this is where God has got to step in and help you. Because there are places in grief where no human strength is enough, no matter how or what they do. You can still feel okay. You can still enjoy the ones in your life. You can still laugh and enjoy the things that you like to do. But underneath all of that, there will always be a missing piece of you that you will never be able to find on this side of earth again. So this week, I'm pulling a few chapters from my book again because writing this stuff down, putting it down on paper, on print, right, has truly shown me things in pieces that my heart searches so hard for. It gives me a new light, new angle, right? Just like my puzzle on how to look at all the whys and how I can never explain everything why it's trapped inside my head. So I encourage you, if you're going through something, anything, right, put it down, get it out so you're not drowning by everything inside of you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've got it all figured out. I don't have anything figured out. I'm never going to try to fix anything inside of you. Can't fix anything. I don't have that power. But what I do have is my broken pieces shattered everywhere. My mess and what God has handed these empty hands and now still feel so unbearably heavy. I'm not going to sit here and think everything is okay. I'm letting God use this broken person right here in hopes that it might reach someone else so you don't feel so alone. All throughout the Bible, God uses broken people to help broken people. So here I am, still broken, still trusting God. So I won't be reading all 3 chapters straight through. It's not what this is, but the book will be available on all the platforms, just like my songs. Everything I do is always 100% free. Right? I'm not here to profit off of my grief, like I see so many other people try to do. This is about God. This is about my son. This is about our story. And this has already cost me more than any amount of money could ever possibly repay me. Pour into this at my own personal cost because this cost is priceless, right? So for this week, I want to touch inside of chapters 15, 16, and 17. Those chapters are heavy. They are chapters of that day. We all remember that day. We remember that day in more detail than we remember anything else in our whole entire life. Remember everything of that day, the doorways, the room, the first night. These chapters are not easy. They're not chapters I wrote because I wanted to relive every second. They're chapters I wrote because this is the part of the truth that has happened, right? And it's part of the truth of what grief does when sudden loss enters. your life with no warning. It is what is forever embedded into me, in my soul, with no way to escape. And I know a lot of you can relate who are going through this or have gone through this. And maybe you're watching because someone who is going through this and they just can't hold the words. So I speak in my own personal pain. So chapter 15 is about the door. It's about me trying to solve what in my mind I thought was a locked door problem. Still thinking ordinary explanations existed. Still thinking I could get inside, I could wake up Kody, and the day would just go back to itself. Chapter 16 is when the world stopped. That is the moment where my life split into before and after. Chapter 17 is the first night inside the nightmare. The phone calls, the questions, the yard, my last kiss to him that day, walking back and forth to the house, still trying to be a mother to my youngest, where I had just been broken apart beside my son. But underneath all of this, I was not just living through a hard day. I was being pulled into reality in my mind, my body, my heart, that none of it could explain and I'd never ever be able to understand. And I think that is important to say because a lot of people talk about grief like it's just sadness. And it is, grief is sadness. But child loss, sudden child loss, finding your child, having no warning, no goodbye, that's not only sadness, that's impact, that's shock, that's devastation. That is your whole body trying to survive something that your soul cannot carry. That is not something that you can just think your way through. Right? That is not something that would be fixed with a good quote, strong attitude, or a prayer so deep inside of every part of your being. That is where God has got to step in, not because it stops the hurting, but because you do not have enough physical strength to go through what just hits you. So here for chapter 15, right? I'm going to read a brief part of little clips out of the book. This is the part where the nightmare was already beginning to form, but my mind was still inside of it trying to accept something horrible. I was thinking I was just trying to solve a locked door problem because my son's door was locked and I was just trying to wake him up for an appointment, right? So this is before I realized what had happened. So let me pull this up. I walked back towards Kody's house with the pocket knife in my hand, still trying to tell myself what I had told myself all afternoon. If I could just get the door open, the day would go back to itself. That was the piece of ordinary logic I was still holding on to with everything in me. A locked door could be solved. Sleeping son could be woken up. A missed call could be explained. Key that did not work could be replaced by another tool. A problem could still be a problem and not a catastrophe. I was still trying to keep the whole afternoon inside that thinking because the alternative had not yet become something my mind could even allow. That is how close I was still to ordinary logic. Even after the calls, even after the knocking, even after the failed key, even after I had gone back and forth the yard with that huge white dog refusing to leave me alone, even after the silence had stopped feeling like normal silence, something in some part of me was still there reaching for the last explanation that would let me walk into his room, find him tired or irritated or half asleep, hear him say, "Mom, up," and let the whole thing fall back into the shape of a hard but fixable afternoon. That part matters because I was still holding on ordinary logic, right? Trying to go wake him up, right? I was still reaching for an explanation that would have let my life stay the same. And that's what makes it feel like a nightmare, right? You're not yet inside the understanding yet. You are still trying to fix one practical thing, right? Get the door open. He just had the door locked. He couldn't hear you, right? And on the outside, the world did not match what was happening on the inside. That is another piece of the nightmare. Nothing warned me enough. Nothing around me looked equal to what was coming. Next part. And the yard still looked like the yard. That is what makes part of it so hard to carry in memory. Nothing around me looked equal to what was happening inside of the moment. The path from my house to his house had not changed. The ground underneath my feet was still the same. I had walked 1,000 times. The air did not split open. Sky did not darken. The house did not warn me. Everything outside of me was still wearing the face of ordinary life. While everything inside of me was beginning to understand that ordinary was failing. That is what people do not always understand. The world does not always have to look shattered when your life is about to shatter. Sometimes the yard just still looks like the yard. Sometimes the sky still looks like the sky. Sometimes the house still looks like the house. But inside, something is already knowing that ordinary is failing. Now, I don't want to give away the whole chapter here, but this is part I need to read because it carries the feeling, right? It is the space between the body walking in in understanding. It is a split second where your body knows before your mind is allowed to know it. Pull this up. There is a space in memory that lives between entry and understanding, and it is one of the hardest spaces of my life to describe truthfully, because I had crossed into the room, but I had not yet crossed fully into comprehension. My eyes were taking things in, my body was sharpening, my heart was beginning to know, but my mind was still behind, still fighting to keep the world from becoming what it was already becoming. That is the threshold I crossed in those seconds. Not full impact, but the edge of it, the terrible edge, where ordinary explanations begin collapsing one piece at a time, where the room itself started speaking a truth before language had caught up, where a mother is still calling her son's name, while something deeper inside her already begins breaking. I stood there in that awful quiet, with the light on and supernatural still looping, and the door no longer closed. I did not yet register what my heart knew. That is the truest sentence I have for those seconds. I did not yet register what my heart knew. There was still that split space between before and after, between solving and shattering, between entry and realization. The door had been opened. The room had begun to reveal itself, and the life I had been living only moments before was already being, by degree, to end. That right there is the nightmare, right? Not fully understanding yet, but the edge of it, the awful quiet, the split space, the place where your heart knows before your mind can say it out loud. Now we're moving to chapter 16. This is where it stops being just the doorway and becomes impact. I'll always protect Kody's dignity, so I'm not going to be reading any graphic details. I didn't put any graphic details in my book, right? But I'm going to read what happened inside of me, because this is the weight these chapters carry. So I finally get in. I open the door just enough, right? And I see my son. I say, "Kody, what are you doing?" And that's where my voice broke. I did not finish the sentence. Could not. The words broke because I broke. Something in me hit the truth before my mind had language for it, and the sound that should have carried the rest of that question collapsed in my throat. It was not a normal pause. It was not a hesitation. It was a moment language failed, because a mother's soul had just been struck by something no language was built to carry. That's not soft grief. That is not a clean, sad moment. That is me being destroyed in real time. That's why I keep calling it a nightmare, because my body was moving, but everything inside of me was collapsing. I opened the door. I saw my son. I started to, as if everything was okay. And as soon as I just said, "Kody, what are you doing?" I was trying to form doing, but it didn't come out. Okay, next part. I knew. Not because I wanted to know. Not because I accepted it. Not because my mind could bear it. I knew, because beneath language, the place where my body receives the truth before the heart has given permission. I knew in the way the room would not answer. I knew in the way silence changed shape. I knew in the way my own voice had broken before it finished the question. I knew in the way terror became something bigger than fear. I knew, and still I was trying. That is what still tears me apart. I knew enough to break, and I still fought as if love could tear the outcome open and give him back to me. I knew, and I was still trying. That is the place where your body can stay trapped in, enough to break you. But love still tries to fight every outcome to make it change. I tried, but I knew. At the same time, I knew. That is the strongest section for me for all this whole talk, because it explains why it's not just sadness. It explains why part of me is still trapped, right? Trapped there. Let me pull up the next section, Kody. Even now, I do not remember that room first as a list of details. I remember the tearing. I remember the collapse. I remember the way time stopped behaving like time. Seconds were too fast and too slow. My body was moving, but the world felt frozen around the part of me that had broken. I remember love reaching while reality refused to bend. I remember knowing and refusing to know at the same time. I remember trying to get to him while a deeper part of me was being forced to understand that I was losing him in a way I could not stop. That was the moment where the world had stopped. Not because the earth stopped moving, not because clocks stopped ticking, not because sound disappeared forever. The world stopped because the life I had been standing in 1 second earlier could not continue in the same shape. The life for Kody was 20 to 25 steps away. The life where I could call him and expect him to answer. The life where I could still believe healing was unfolding here. The life where I could still think there would be more time. That life ended in that room. What shattered me was not only the horror of the moment, it was everything the moment crushing with it. All the hope, all the prayer, all the signs of healing, all the mornings, all the hugs, all the appointments I thought mattered because there was still a future to protect. All the ways I believed God was still carrying him forward here. All the ways I thought I could still get to watch what God would do in his life next. And all at once, that future is gone from my hands. I do not have language big enough for what that did to me. I only know that it tore through every part of me. It tore through the mother in me. It tore through the person in me. It tore through the part of me that survived other pain and kept going. It tore through my breath, my body, my mind, my faith, my sense of reality. It did not wound me. It shattered me. It broke the inside of my life so violently that there are still places in me where time has not moved forward from that room. Okay. That is the nightmare I am talking about. There are places in me where time has not moved forward. I can be sitting here, but part of me always be in that room. Part of me will still be trying to reach him. Part of me will still be here standing where my world stopped. The first night was not just a night. It was impact. And chapter 17 is the first night inside of the nightmare, but not just the nightmare. It was the coming. It was the people. It was the questions. It was the yard. It was the world demanding the next thing from me. Well, I was not even whole enough to make anything make sense. Chapter 17. Not unreal in small ways people say when they are in shock. Unreal in the deepest ways. Reality itself had become hostile to my ability to understand it. I am in my son's house, on my own property, inside the same world I woke up in that morning, and yet none of it belongs to the same life anymore. The room is the room, but it is not. The yard is still the yard, but it is not. I am me, but I am no longer the woman who walked through that door. That is one of the truest ways I know how to say it. Reality itself felt wrong, not just painful, wrong. Like I had been pushed into another dimension and everything around me was still the same, but not the same. So this is the part when help comes. Okay? But help does not feel like help. It's supposed to help. It's supposed to come into the room and fix what is broken. It's supposed to bring back breath. Help is supposed to move fast enough to undo the things that happened before you got there. It's supposed to say, we have him. He's going to be okay. That is the only sentence I want. That sentence never comes. The only help I need does not exist in the hands of anyone coming. No person crossing that yard can make my son wake up. No voice on the phone can undo the room. No emergency response can turn the day back to what it was before. They can come, they can move, they can ask, they can do what they are trained to do, but they cannot give me the one thing my whole body is screaming for. They cannot bring back my son to me. That is why I say help. It did not feel like help. Not because people were not trying, not because no one else there was trying to do things, but because the help that I needed did not exist in human hands. And that is where grief becomes unbearable. The world starts moving, people start asking, procedures start happening, but the only thing you want, nobody can give you. And this is where God has got to step in. This part I want to land on not because it makes the nightmare okay. It does not. Because it gives you a clean answer. It does not. But because this is where human strength completely runs out. Let me pull this part up. Grief does not let me break in one direction. It demands all of me at once. I have to be a mother who kissed her son, and the mother who now has to look at her daughters. I have to be the mother who cannot breathe, and the mother who still has to speak. I have to carry death in one hand and living children in the other. And there is no human way to do that without God holding what is left. There is no human way to carry death in one hand and your living child in the other without God holding what is left. There's no human way to be shattered and still have to speak, still have to move, still have to breathe, still have to be a mother to the kids that are standing in front of you. And through all of it, God is present, not in a way I can explain cleanly why it's happening. Nothing in me has clean language that day, but He is there. He is there for me when I'm not there for myself. And He is there for Kody. He is there for my son's last breath on earth. He is there for his first breath in heaven. He is there where I cannot be. He is there in the moment I cannot fix. He is there when I'm too late. He is there when my hands cannot bring him back. He is there when my prayers are screams. He is there in the room, in the yard, in the crawling skin, in the numbness, in the kiss, in the walk back, in the conversation with my youngest, in the impossible questions, in every second. I cannot survive by my own strength. That truth does not soften the day. It does not make the room less terrible. It does not make the kiss easier. It does not make me stop wishing I had gotten there sooner. It does not make my body forget. It means I was not abandoned inside of the worst moment of my life. It means my son was not alone in the place I could not reach. It means the God who had been with him through every hidden battle was still with him at the edge between earth and heaven. That is the balance. God being there did not soften that day. It did not make the room less terrible. It did not make me stop wishing I had got there sooner. It meant I was not abandoned and left alone inside the worst moment. It meant Kody was not alone in the place that I could not reach. I do not survive the first night because I am strong. I am not strong. I am destroyed and broken beyond repair at my son's door. I survive because God does not let go of me while everything in me is breaking. Not whole, not steady, not understanding, not okay. Carried. That is the truth of the first night inside the nightmare. And the nightmare has only begun. That is where I want to leave the chapters at right now. Just the portions. Not because everything is revealed. Not with the whole book opened up. But with the truth of what this week is about. I'm not strong enough for this. I never was. I'm not whole. I'm not steady. I'm not asking people to be okay. I'm carried. Some days, carried is the only testimony that I have. And now, even now, after time has passed, there are days, all of this, a lot of days, still feel unreal. I know the date. I know what happened. I know the words. I know. Gone through the funeral, the ashes, the death certificate, the chips, the signs, the dates, the empty spaces of all of it. I know my life has continued in a way my life continues after loss. There are moments where my mind says, this cannot be my life. There are moments where I still feel like I am waiting to wake up and find out this was one of the longest, cruelest nightmares of my life. There are moments where I still expect to hear him, still expect to see him, still expect some part of this world to correct itself, and then it does not. That is the nightmare after the nightmare. Not only the first days, it is waking up again and again and again and again, still inside that same truth. It is remembering every morning. Every morning, it is walking past places where Kody should be. It is seeing ordinary things that belong to him and realize they are still here, but he's not. It is living in a house where his name still matters. It is breathing in a world that feels like one person is missing from that breath. And I know some people want grief to become quieter because it makes them feel more comfortable. But I cannot force the loss of my son into something small because time has passed. Kody is not small. He'll never be small. His life was not small. My love for him was not small. My grief is not small. It does not mean I don't have no hope. It means I have hope and have to sit inside the truth. The truth is, I am still hurting. The truth is, I still miss my son with everything inside of me. The truth is, I do not understand why I am having to live inside of this chapter. Truth is, believe Kody is with Jesus. The truth is, still believe God was with him when I could not be. Truth is, I still believe God is with me. And all those truths can live together. They don't cancel each other out. And that is what people need to understand. Faith does not mean that grief is gone. Faith means that God is still God in the room where your grief is screaming so loud that you can't hear anything else. So if you're watching, guys, and this is inside your own nightmare, I'm not going to tell you be strong. I'm not going to tell you time heals everything. I'm not going to tell you God needed another angel. I'm not going to tell you to look on the bright side or that you got other kids. I'm not going to hand you words that make your pain smaller so that other people can feel better. I'm going to tell you the truth as best as I know how. There are some things you cannot carry. Sorry. There are some things you cannot carry by yourself. There are places in grief where you may not even know how to pray. Anyway, even if your prayer is only a sound or a cry or silence, right? There are days where you may not feel strong enough to get through the next hour. Tell that to God. There are moments where your body may feel like it's still trapped in the worst seconds of your life. Ask God to meet you there, not in a clean version, not after you have made yourself presentable. There, right there. God is not afraid of where you are falling apart. He's waiting for you in where you're falling apart. He's not waiting for you to sound spiritually sound. He's waiting for you where you're a mess. He's not waiting for you to explain it right. He's not waiting for you to be okay before he comes near. God is near to the brokenhearted. And sometimes the brokenhearted does not look quiet. Sometimes it's screaming. Sometimes it's shaking hands. Sometimes it's not even being able to unlock your own cell phone. Sometimes it's not even wanting to be touched. Sometimes it is sitting in the same place with the same questions for months after months after months, and your mind cannot quit going back there. He can meet you there. Does not mean the pain disappears. And I need to say this because I don't want to lie to anybody. I'm not sitting here on the other side of grief as if it's all wrapped up. I am still in it. I'm still walking through it. Some days I am crawling on my hands and knees and stomach through it. Some days I am carried through it, but I am still here. Carried is still breathing. Carried is still being held by God when your hands have nothing left to hold. So this week is not about me saying I woke up from the nightmare. I have not at all. There are days I feel trapped inside. There are days where nothing feels real. There are days I really want to go back to before. There are days I say Kody's name and the silence after it hurts more than anything I can explain. But I'm also learning that God can carry a person who still is trapped inside of that nightmare. He does not only show up when you are steady. He shows up when you are falling apart. He shows up when nothing makes sense. He doesn't only show up after you process things. He shows up in the middle of impact. And that is where God has had to meet me, in the room, in the yard, in the first night, in the days after, in the dates, in the details, in the moments where I cannot breathe right, in the moments where I'm still waking up, in every single day of my life. I believe one day when my eyes open, this nightmare cannot reach me anymore. I believe one day I will see Jesus. I believe one day I will see Kody. I believe one day this pain will not have the final word. But until then, I am still here. I am still standing, not whole, not fixed, not okay in the way people want you to mean okay, carried. And that is the testimony, still here. God did not make this nightmare painless, but he did not leave me alone inside of it either. He's here after everything has broken. So guys, if any of this done anything for y'all, like, comment, share, subscribe, get the word out, pass it along. Pass it along. Like I said, all of everything will be available soon. But anyway, still trying to work out what day I want to do these on here. So comment down below. And for Kody, I love you, bubs. The moon, trees, and the stars. All the way to heaven. Same black time, same bad channel. Thanks, guys.